Welcome to the SPE Podcast, powered by the Society of Petroleum Engineers. You're listening to the March 2024 episode of the SPE President's Podcast with Terry Palisch, creating our energy future, maximizing your membership by leveraging SPE's multimedia content. And now your moderator, SPE Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Dana Otilio.
Hello, I'm Dana Otilio, Vice President of Marketing and Communications at SPE. I'm pleased to join 2024 President Terry Palisch on his monthly podcast episode. This month, Terry will continue to share the ways members can leverage SPE's published content to enhance their technical expertise. Terry, thank you for inviting me to join you on this topic.
Well, Dana, thank you for joining me. And I thought, what better person to discuss our multimedia than you. So that's why I thought you'd be a great one. So, as you know, we're about halfway through the series now, this podcast series in my columns. And, the whole goal of which was to help our members understand how to get the most out of their SP membership. I like to use the analogy of the gym membership. And I want to make sure that our members understand all the offerings and so that they can help create their own energy future. So far, we've, of course, covered the regional sections. We've covered technical sections, SP Connect. Last month, of course, we covered print media. So I thought it might be good to cover multimedia this month with you. So hopefully we can get through talking about SP's Energy Stream, maybe webinars and training, SP Live, and maybe even work in a few thoughts on the Distinguished Lecturer Program in PetroWiki. I think multimedia is now kind of the future, and the content helps us run really the full gamut of our mission. It's not just connecting our members to technology, but it also includes members to members. But probably this is the one that probably helps us connect to our external stakeholders as much as anything, because we have a lot of external stakeholders that tune into our SP Live and some of the other things.
Yeah, that's very true. So let's start by taking a look back at how we got here with SPE's multimedia content. Can you share a bit about what led SPE to start creating more video and audio content?
SP has offered webinars and online training courses, for many years. I think we started probably in 2013. But this content was all kind of standalone, not necessarily, kind of combined and related to each other, and certainly was not as well utilized as the SP events. So prior to the pandemic, as you know, SP was looking for ways to, kind of best capture some of the best of moments of our presentations at our events. But in many ways at that time, the AV technologies just really hadn't caught up. So one of the very small benefits that came out of the pandemic was quick advancements in AV technologies, because we all got thrust into that situation. So it was really during the pandemic is when SP Live was born.
Excellent. So can you share with our listeners what SP Live is and what kind of response we got from the members?
Yeah, so of course we all remember what happened in April 2020, and SP, to their credit, you and your team adapted very quickly to the strain that the COVID was putting on SPE and our members. We couldn't meet for our events. We couldn't meet at our section meetings. We couldn't get together. And it was a huge issue for us in helping our members connect with each other. So SP launched the SP Live series on LinkedIn. The ironic thing is, I believe LinkedIn had reached out to SP just before that and asked if they wanted to be part of a beta test on something they were going to call LinkedIn Live. And we didn't do that because of the pandemic, but it was already at the forefront of our minds. So we were able to quickly adapt and put on our own. So, the board was very supportive and still is. I know we were scrambling to try to find speakers, and I think the board members and people stepped up, and significant members in our membership helped. But today the platform's kind of evolved. The goal of SP Live is now to provide timely content. But then, content that's, on interesting, probably hot topics of the day, but in really a more of a conversational tone. So it's almost like a live podcast. So, of course, we're looking for global topics that are important to all of our membership, talking about thought leadership, high level. They're also not huge productions, so they can be a quick turnaround. course, the purpose is called SP Live, so the purpose is to be live. But so we do try to respond to questions and comments by viewers, but it's also available on demand. And again, this is one of our multimedia outlets that is available to both members and non-members. So we have the ability to reach those that aren't in our membership as well. As far as popularity, I will say this: due to popularity, we started something this last year called Tech Talks, and this is where we have the same conversational setting, but we allow companies or sponsors to provide sponsored content, so they can have a conversational discussion about their product or service or topic. And these have been very popular. I think we're now doing like 8 to 10 of these per month. We do like 4 to 5 SP Lives a month. And I think we're getting 16 to 1,700 views between the online and demand. So it's really one of our growing outlets of multimedia. And then, of course, I just want to put a plug in. One of the most recent successes is kind of taking our DLs and featuring a DL in the current season each month. So it allows them to get their message out and their presentation out in another outlet.
That's great. I mean, sometimes when I'm listening to an SP Live, I think about someone, in some far off country, because we have people that are watching the show, at all times of the day and night, someone eating popcorn on their couch, before they go to bed, listening to an SPE Live. I mean, that's kind of some of the response we've gotten globally on those broadcasts, which is pretty cool. So you mentioned how SP Live and the Tech Talks are available on demand. Where can members find all this content? Yeah,
so as SP, of course, expanded outside of just providing print media, and we started creating all this multimedia, videos, webinars, so on, it was, as you know, kind of located in different places. And so in 2022, SP launched the Energy Stream website. And so the idea is at that website, you can go to see all of our multimedia content all in one place. And we continue to improve that. So I like to think of the Energy Stream is kind of the One Petro of multimedia. So One Petro is where we go to a lot of our print, and Energy Stream's where we can get our multimedia. It's accessible from the sp.org homepage, or you can go right to streaming.sp.org. Of course, when you get there, the system has links for webinars, for online training, for the SP Lives, and of course, our SP podcast. So if you're listening to this podcast, that's how you can access all my past podcasts. So, and of course, we continue to improve it. We added the learning management system this past year. So that allows us to kind of combine this continuing education credits, and it allows you to go to one place to kind of see where you're at, what you've done for training. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for that as well.
So let's go back to something you mentioned earlier about the Distinguished Lecturer Program. I think most of our members know that these selected experts visit sections around the world in person. How do these fit in with SPE Live?
Yeah, so let's maybe take a step back. The DL program, Distinguished Lecturer Program, is really one of SP's most probably popular and prestigious programs. It's a very rigorous process. It's a subject matter expert, and it's really it's very important to SPE. It's so important that it's actually partially underwritten by the SP Foundation. The primary benefit of the distinguished lecturers from a membership standpoint is, like you said, for them to visit the sections in person. For some sections, this may be the only times that they meet, so it's very important to the sections. It's very rigorous. Like I said, we select about 30 to 35 each year, I think. We try to get 2 or 3 from each discipline. And these are subject matter experts in their topic. A lot of times it might start from an SP paper or a presentation that they gave. It is important to our sections. Each section gets 2 distinguished lecturers each year. That's provided at no cost to the section. So it allows them a chance to meet, bring their section and their members together. And like I said, for some, that may be the only time they meet. It's rigorous on the author, the speakers as well. They have to travel the world. But one of the things we did this past year, like you were mentioning, was we added now an SP Live feature as well. So in addition to making your travels and getting the benefits of being there in sections, we now have the ability to broadcast that live once a month. So that gives both the presenters another opportunity to get their message out, but it also gives the SP sections another opportunity to view a speaker. So, and I will say this is while SP Lives are free to anyone in or outside of SP, the DL Lives are not. That's a member benefit. So it's important to understand you have to be a member to see those.
Yeah. And I would think too, for the sections, since you mentioned they only get 2 of those visits per year, it gives those sections a chance to maybe hear other presenters too,
exactly.
that they maybe didn't have a chance to hear in person. So that's great. It's great that it's been able to provide that value. So you've talked a good bit about SPE Live, how it provides a timely overview and conversation around a topic. What are SP webinars and how are they different?
Okay. Well, first of all, an SP Live is typically, I think we don't want to go over 30 minutes, so it's typically targeting a little bit less than that. A webinar is typically going to be 60 to 90 minutes. So a webinar is more of I'll call it a technical presentation. So it's not a conversational setting. It's a presenter speaking, probably has a PowerPoint going. So it's kind of more of a live technical presentation. Of course, webinar is going to dive deeper into a technical topic. Whereas the SP Live's more conversational, like we're having here. Webinars are also live. A lot of people view them live. They have the ability to have Q&A, but then they are also offered on demand. So all the webinars are on this Energy stream, the past webinar, so you can view those on demand as well. Again, member benefit. Webinars are free, so you can view any past webinar at no charge. If you're a non-member, there is a slight fee for that. And then lastly, webinars are then, you have the ability to now earn continuing education credits for a webinar as well. So an SP Live doesn't do that. It's not what its intent is, but a webinar, of course, is an education. So we have that ability. So I kind of like to think of webinars are to technical sections what DLs are to regional sections. So it's the ability for the technical sections to get some technical knowledge out to their global audience.
Excellent. So SP Lives, short, conversational, SP webinars, more of a technical presentation, lots of Q&A. So how do the online training courses, how do those fit in with these other 2 products?
Yeah, online training is done kind of in a couple of different ways, but think of an online training as more of a course or a class. So a training class is going to be typically at least a day, probably multi-day, and it's not necessarily even broken up in days. It's just time. So it's always basically available on demand. So you can watch it at your own pace, pause it, come back to it. There's also typically tests and quizzes along the way to kind of help reinforce whether you're getting the material, things like that. And then, of course, as you would expect, you get continuing education credits as well. As I said, there's really 2 sources of that. SP puts on about 15 has made about 15 online training courses with SP members as the subject matter experts, and they're really more specific to certain topics. But we also, in 2019, partnered with IHRDC to basically link their technical content, their training content to our members. And so if there's a discussion or a training you need and it's offered through IHRDC, you go through our website and you can get a reduced rate for our members. So that's kind of how we try to meet, the all-in training needs of our members and work in our wheelhouse, but also take advantage of expertise in others. So I want to say one more thing. There's also in-person training. That's not what I'm talking about here today, but we do provide in-person training. That's usually run alongside of an event. So that's only a live event. And so those are unique to a specific event or workshop or so on. So
you've covered a lot of different content that's available on the Energy Stream website. We know that our members can get content, technical content in lots of different shapes or forms. So as an extension of Energy Stream, can you tell the audience a bit about PetroWiki?
Yeah, PetroWiki Some of our members may remember the Petroleum Engineering Handbook. It's something that was developed many years ago. And it was really meant to be the reference manual for petroleum engineers. It was actually last updated in 2007. And at about that time was when Wikipedia started becoming very popular. And so it was thought, well, why don't we make this more of a living document, and not necessarily a living document, but a living idea. And so we developed PetroWiki. And so PetroWiki is meant to work like Wikipedia, where members can update and add content at their will, and then of course there can be debate and that type of work. But again, it works just like Wikipedia. PetroWiki gets a lot of traffic. There's a lot of people who access it. The unfortunate thing is we just really haven't had a lot of updating going on, not as much as we'd like. And we've been working on how do we make that happen. And so we're looking for ways to improve that. I think it's a powerful resource for our members. Like I said, a lot of members view it. A lot of our younger members and even students use PetroWiki as a reference. Of course, then the other question is we have things like ChatGPT and some of the AI stuff coming in. And so then the question is maybe there's, do we combine those two? Is there kind of a way to leverage one or the other? So, I think that's kind of where we're at now and trying to understand the place for PetroWiki, but it's a powerful resource. I would encourage if you have some things to add to that, to please do, because we can always use updated content.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know PetroWiki has a lot of content in there that could be leveraged. We've got ChatGPT, as you say, has entered the world and has really changed the world very radically in its very short time in existence. So since we're talking about AI and ChatGPT, what do you think is the future of AI as it's related to SPE?
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone of one thing. Remember, in PetroWiki, everything is sourced, or cited. So unlike ChatGPT, where you have no idea where the source came from, at least you know where that source came from. But look, many people probably don't realize it, but AI has been employed by SP for many years. It's really the backbone of how we've been able to take our technical content, our print content, and things like that, and make it searchable in our research portal. So if you go onto OnePetro and use the research portal, it's using AI to find keywords and to find the articles that you need. So SP has been looking at AI for a while. But we're also now, of course, starting to look at other ideas, particularly with the advent of large language models. Right now, I will remind everybody that large language models like ChatGPT or whatever can only access free content. So everything behind our paywall, which would include OnePetro, is not in ChatGPT or available. So, I think there's some opportunities for us. I can tell you that we are currently working and looking at, how does SP leverage large language models? How do we incorporate OnePetro? We've had many companies approach us with trying to collaborate. So times are changing really fast in this, and we're still continuing to get our arms around it. But I think there's a lot of opportunity, and our goal is to use AI to help our members. So whatever we do will be to do that.
Wonderful. So we're just about out of time. Thank you so much for today's discussion. This is really things that are near and dear to my heart. So how do members use what we talked about today to get the most out of their SPE membership?
Yeah. So obviously that's my most important point is I want to make sure our members understand how they use it. The first thing I would recommend is if you haven't been to it, go to the Energy Stream website. Explore the site, see what's available, explore the webinars, look at the SP Lives, be on the lookout for SP Lives that are of interest to you. I would follow SPE on LinkedIn if you don't already, because then you'll be able to get the immediate links for that. I would also, though, make sure you kind of think about what are areas of education or technical training that you need. And first step might be to search the webinar library. There's a ton of webinars in there, and they're all sorted by technical discipline, and you can go in and look at what you need. And those are free. I would even recommend maybe make a goal of watch a webinar each month. Pick one. Maybe it's in your discipline. Maybe it's something you don't know that much about and you want to explore it. So that'll help advance your professional development. Of course, whatever section you're in, be on the lookout for the DLs when they come to town. I go to as many of them as I can here in the Dallas section. And then look, if you're a seasoned professional, I just ask that you do a couple of things. One is maybe go into the PetroWiki site and see if there's some content that you can add or update. But also don't forget, you can be on SP Live, or you can be do a webinar or be a DL. Speaking of which, by the way, the DL application ends here in a couple of weeks, March 15th. So if you want to be a DL in next season, now's the time to do that. So again, I think it's a matter of going onto that site and looking and, how do you invest in yourself? How do you invest in your professional career and ultimately create your energy future?
Well, it was really great speaking with you today, Terry. Can you give us a sneak peek into what you'll be covering next month?
Sure, Dana. First of all, thank you for joining me. I always enjoy visiting with you, and my congratulations to you and your team for everything you do, and you adapt. And I know this is quickly changing technologies, so I know I appreciate it. I'm sure the members do too. As far as next month goes, I think we're going to try to dive into, how does, answering one of the questions I get a lot is, how does SPE help us as an industry improve our public image? And so we'll talk about things like the Energy for Me program and some related topics. But I hope that these podcasts are helpful to everybody. Again, I encourage you to get the most out of your SP membership, just like you do your health club membership, and ultimately create your energy future.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the SPE President's Podcast, Creating Our Energy Future with Terry Palisch. New episodes are posted at the beginning of each month, complete with transcripts, on the Journal of Petroleum Technology website at jpt.spe.org.